My son, keep your father's commandments, and do not forsake the Torah of your mother. Bind them to your heart forever, tie them around your neck.
Shalom. As you can see, this is not a regular Sabbath service. I am in my home here. There is a lot of back and forth on the internet between those who see the fallacy of replacement theology and what the Bible truly teaches. Israel and the Jews have not been replaced by the New Testament Church as Yahweh God's chosen people. Honest and unbiased reading of Scripture reveals that very clearly. However, most of those who rightly preach against replacement theology are guilty of replacement Sabbath. They have replaced Yahweh God's holy seventh-day Sabbath with worshiping on Sunday. They have given in to what the Roman Catholic Church established many centuries ago to stop worshiping on the Sabbath and instead worship on Sunday. Roman Catholics admit that their Pope changed it supposedly because he has been given that authority from God. But Protestantism theorizes that the Sabbath was replaced by the Apostles and the early Church. Before we go further, it must be established that no one has the authority to change what Yahweh God has given as his law. Period. So, did the Apostles change the Sabbath as Protestantism alleges? Let's examine the scriptures used to support that idea. First is Acts 20 verse 7, "And upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech until midnight." First, there is nothing really noteworthy here because Scripture says that the disciples met daily. Acts 5 verse 42, "And daily in the temple, and in every house, they ceased not to teach and preach Yahshua the Messiah." The Acts 20 passage is not signifying some regularly scheduled service because Paul was getting ready to leave and the disciples wanted to hear every word he could share with them. In fact, the more correct translation is Acts 20 verse 7, "Now on one of the Sabbaths, when the disciples had assembled to break bread, Paul preached to them, and because he was going to leave in the morning, he continued speaking until midnight." This was immediately after unleavened bread, a Sabbath afternoon, and since Paul was leaving the next day, he preached until midnight. The fact that he was leaving on the first day of the week, Sunday, clearly shows that this day had no religious significance to the believers with him. Secondly, the phrase, "the first day of the week," appears 8 times in the New Testament. 6 times it refers to the event of the resurrection of Yahshua. The other 2 times are in Acts 20 and 1 Corinthians 15, which we'll look at shortly. The English words, "first day of the week," are supposedly the translation from the Greek. I am not a Greek scholar, but I can read a Greek to English dictionary. Look at this. English translation, "first day of the week." The first Greek word means toward or into. The second Greek word means one of or the first. The final Greek word of this phrase means Sabbaths. Notice that it is plural. More on that in a minute. So putting them together in English should look similar to this, into one of the Sabbaths, or into the first of the Sabbaths. There are several Bible translations which correctly interpret this. Matthew 28 verse 1, "Now late on the Sabbath, as the first day of the weeks was drawing near, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to observe the sepulchre." A faithful version. Matthew 28 verse 1, "But after the Sabbaths, at the dawning into the first of the Sabbaths, Miriam of Magdalene and the other Miriam came to look upon the grave." Hebrew Roots Bible. Matthew 28 verse 1, "But late in the Sabbath, as it was dawning into one of the weeks, Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb." The Scriptures 2009. It is clearly disingenuous to translate that Greek phrase as "first day of the week," because the word day does not even appear in the Greek and the word week is actually plural, weeks. However, their translation fits their theology. Okay, so why is the word weeks plural? I'm glad you asked. In Yahweh's calendar he has specified 7 holy days beginning in the first month of the Hebrew year of Eve and continuing until the 7th month Tishri. Each of those days is a prophecy of a coming event. As we know, Yahshua fulfilled the first holy day of Passover. During the week of unleavened bread that immediately followed, the countdown for Pentecost or Shavuot always begins on the first day of the week after Passover during that week. That day, which is also a holy day, is called the wave sheaf offering, performed only by the priest in the temple, and Yahshua also fulfilled it by presenting his shed blood to the Father that morning. Remember how he prevented Mary Magdalene from touching him immediately after he resurrected because he said, "Do not touch me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father." That was the first day of the weeks, the countdown to Shavuot or Pentecost. The countdown is 7 weeks or 49 days after the wave sheaf offering. So, the point is that the phrase, first of the weeks, or one of the weeks, indicates a day that falls within that countdown time period. It is not the first day of a week, singular. The second scripture used to bolster the Protestant argument is 1 Corinthians 16 verse 2, "On the first day of the week, each of you is to set something aside and save in keeping with how he prospers, so that no collections will need to be made when I come." This verse is also used to extract a weekly tithe from Protestant church members. Does it actually say and mean that? Again, the phrase in question truly means one of the weeks or first of the weeks. It does not indicate a weekly event. It was a one-time event, not weekly. The Apostle Paul was indicating an offering to be taken for the saints living in Israel because of their poverty from persecution. There is no New Testament mandate to quit Sabbath worship. Leviticus 23 verse 2-3, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, concerning the appointed feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my appointed feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. You shall not do any work. It is a Sabbath to Yahweh in all your dwellings." During the kingdom that Yahshua himself said will happen, everyone on earth will obey the Sabbath. Isaiah 66 verse 23, "And it shall come to pass, that from one month to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, says Yahweh." If, as most think, the apostles changed the Sabbath to honor Yahshua's resurrection, then think again. If they had done so, it would have been a man-made tradition which Yahshua vehemently preached against. Sabbath keeping is mentioned many years after the resurrection in Hebrews 4 verse 9, "There remains, therefore, Sabbath keeping for the people of Yahweh." The Sabbath is still clearly a requirement in the New Testament, as it is the very sign of identity to being a child of Yahweh. In the Greek text, the word for Sabbath in this verse is used as a verb, not a noun, for those understand English, that it is something the believer must be doing, not simply believing. It shows who the Creator is and gives him honor for his creation. So by attempting to change to worship on Sunday, people are dishonoring their Creator. Exodus 20 verse 8, "Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy." Ponder on this. It is absolute truth that Yahweh established the Sabbath from the beginning of creation, and it was mostly obeyed all the way through the time of Yahshua. And the Bible very clearly indicates that Sabbath worship will be a worldwide requirement in the kingdom and throughout eternity. So why would Yahweh put his stamp of approval on Sunday worshiping for 2,000 years? Go figure. If you are attempting to worship on the regularly scheduled Sunday instead of the seventh-day Sabbath, then you are not worshiping him in the truth of his word, but in man's traditions. If you refuse to obey his commandments, his law regarding this mandate, then you are lawless. Beware of Yahshua's words in Matthew 7 verses 21-23, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Master, Master,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in the heaven. Many will say to me in that day, 'Master, Master, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and perform many mighty works in your name?' And then I will declare to them, 'I never knew you. Depart from me, you practitioners of lawlessness.'" These people Yahshua will be speaking to at the judgment are not pagans. No, they are those who claim the name of Christ. They did miracles in his name. They cast out demons in his name. They preached in his name. Yet, they were breaking his law. Beware, dear brothers and sisters.